Hello, everyone. I am Coach Joe Peoples. I am here today with Coach Tyler. This is my new channel, Awesome Active Coaches, where I interview new coaches and seasoned coaches from all around the world. So if you like this video, please like, subscribe, share. And if you want to be on, just let me know and we'll be in touch. So with that, Tyler, thank you for your time. Thank you for being here today. Why don't you just tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got into coaching?
Okay. First of all, Joseph, thanks for having me. And I appreciate being here with you and the opportunity to talk with you and your audience. And hopefully, they can receive some beneficial things out of our conversation here today.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So, um, yeah, I'm Tyler Nowens, and I live on the west coast of British Columbia in a little town called Powell River, and it's about 5 hours north of Vancouver, British Columbia, and it's really only accessible by ferry boats. So yeah, it's a pretty special place, and I've got a wife and a teenage son who's 14 and a teenage daughter who's 16.
Nice. Well, thank you for sharing that with us. That sounds pretty amazing. Hope I get to
Yeah,
visit there sometime. That sounds really cool.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, we like it. Yeah.
So, how long have you been in the coaching field?
Well, it's something that I remember when I first wanted to be a coach, and it was around the time of my 23rd birthday. And I was sitting outside of a very special building that I had first visited as a child. And I was there to do learn meditation and yoga, and it was up in upstate New York. And I was there for my 23rd birthday as a kind of an initiation into um, the ancient teachings and wisdom of yoga and the Indian philosophy. And so in India, I think they've had life coaches for thousands of years, in fact. And the traditional name in India for a life coach is actually guru.
Hmm.
And we hear a lot about the word guru today. And but I just thought it might be nice for your viewers to understand where that actual term originated from and what it actually means.
Right.
Yeah. So at that time, I I felt like I received so much from the wisdom that I was learning. And I think it was kind of a natural thing to want to share it with other people just because I felt like I received so much and benefited so much. And it just was a natural thing for me to want to connect with other people and share in that with other people. So at that time, I wanted to write a book. That's what it looked like for me wanting to be a life coach. So it wasn't necessarily that I wanted to be a life coach, but it was that I wanted to connect with people and help them transform their lives. Yeah.
Nice. So, did you write the book?
Well, I haven't published any books yet, but I suppose for the past 7 or 8 years, I've done a lot of writing, and I'm working on some papers, some thesis papers, and so forth through University of Metaphysics out of the U.S. and um, and so yeah. But the title of the book, I got as far as the title when I was 23 at that time, and the title was "Go Within or Go Without."
Nice. Great title. Yeah, I bet a lot of people would be interested in reading that book. So, I'm curious.
Yeah, yeah. Well, yeah. So what it looks like, I guess, today for me is I approach life coaching as kind of a practice, and I approach it actually as a spiritual practice.
Yeah.
And is that something that you kind of feel it is for you as well?
Oh, 100%. Yeah. Yeah. 100%.
And I think that that's why you and I are talking today, because I am sensitive to energy, and so I can kind of, even though you and I hadn't previously spoken really in person or through Zoom until just a few minutes ago, I picked that up from you. So
Oh, awesome.
yeah, yeah. So the approach "go within" or "go without," it's a little bit of a play on words, you know,
Hmm.
and basically it's alluding to that we live in two worlds, really. You know, we have the external world and all the goings on in the external world, and it's just really overwhelming to try to comprehend what's actually going on externally. And there's also the internal world, and
Hmm.
sometimes our internal world gets overwhelming as well.
Right.
But at least we have an opportunity to gain clarity about our inner world, because it's really what's closest to us. And so by inner world, I mean the mind, the thoughts, the beliefs, the memories, and at a deeper level, I would say the heart and how we feel, and the power of emotion.
Hmm.
And so I would say that for the most part, people, excuse me, people are driven, we live from the outside in.
Yeah.
So the external really has a lot of influence over our internal world. So if things outside of ourselves appear to be not going in our favor, uh, the landscape of our life appears to look, dark and gloomy and negative, then what tends to happen is our inner world gets reflected. And so we start to feel the heavy, the fear, the anxiety, the stress, the guilt, the shame. Um, and so, um, really, my work as a coach would be to try to reverse that. So rather than living how most of us are conditioned to live from the outside in. So we consider the external world to be reality.
Right.
Whereas really what I'm trying to do with clients when I work with clients is to reverse that, so that our inner world becomes in alignment with our purpose.
Yeah.
And so that and for us to gain deeper insight into who we really are at an even deeper level than our thoughts and our emotions,
Hmm.
but even at a spiritual level. And so, we use terms like your authentic self,
Hmm.
or your spiritual self, or
Right.
your soul.
Yeah.
And, you know, there's not a lot of those types of conversations going out in the world. Um, Most of us are very heavily identified with how we look and how we appear to others, and what our job title is and how much money we make or how much money we don't make,
Hmm.
where we feel a burden and we feel not as good as, or we feel impoverished.
Hmm.
And so we carry this kind of, and So on the inside, we're all incredibly awesome. So I chose the word because you have awesome active coaches. And so who we really are, and this is something that, so when I say go within or go without, it means either we can direct our attention inward towards our true source, our true power. We're seeking empowerment,
Right.
but that comes from inside. It's
Yep.
not something that the world is going to give you. You have to claim your own empowerment, and we have to turn our attention inward to find that source, to find the cause, to find our essence, who we really are. So, a lot of clients that I've spoken with thus far, they approach me with worldly problems. They have their problems in their relationship or their problems at work,
Mm-hmm.
financial problems. And, you know, what happens is I think a lot of people today feel quite powerless.
Yeah.
They feel, I think there's a lot of silent desperation in the world. I think that there's a lot of people that are struggling. And I think that comes from uh, our conditioning to seek the external sources of power. Like we're conditioned. Like if you have lots of money, then you won't have any problems. You'll be happy. Or if
Right.
you have status and power or authority, then you'll be fulfilled. Then you'll be somebody. And so that is kind of going without. And what I'm trying to do is say, go within and find out the somebody, the awesome somebody that you already are right now, not based on the past or not based on your title or not based on your balance, your bank balance, not based on how you appear, but something deeper and more of you. So I don't know if this makes sense. Does this
Yeah.
resonate with you? Does this make sense to you?
No, absolutely. I mean, there's so many people out there who are looking for inner peace externally. It's like you're never going to
Mhm.
find your inner peace looking outside of yourself. You got to look inside of yourself, heal whatever emotional wounds you have, or heal whatever trauma you have, or whatever
Yeah,
it is you want to call it. People talk about I want so much money. Well, fine, get rich, go for it. But is that
yeah,
going to define and magnify who you are? Is
that's
it
right.
I mean, and if so, who are you? You
Yeah.
need to find out who you are first, right? And how
Mhm.
is this going to affect your life? I believe in giving more than I have, so I will give something when I don't even have it to give,
Right.
and then I find out that comes back to me in
Absolutely.
amounts. Um,
Yeah.
why? Well, that's who I am. Right? That's what I do.
Yeah.
I connect with that and I resonate with that. If someone says, "Hey, I'm cold," and they don't have a jacket, and I got one here, I'll get
Yeah.
another one, or
Yeah.
somebody will give me one. And it's just
We receive what we give. And so
yeah,
you're practicing a principle. And
right.
most people are focused on what they don't have.
Yeah,
And they're focused on poor me, how can I get something? How can I get something? And the way out of that is to focus on how can I give something? How can I give something?
100%.
And the problem with that is you have to find your true self and recognize your innate worth.
Yeah,
Because if you have a low self-esteem or a lack of self-worth, then there's this kind of unconscious belief pattern that who am I to give something? What value do I have to offer somebody?
right.
You know? And so it's our own unconscious belief in our lack of self-worth that prevents us from, breaking free, I guess you could say, from out of our current situation that we have a difficult time accepting.
Yeah.
And I think part of recognizing your own self-worth is, the first step would be to really accept yourself
Yep.
and your situation exactly as you are.
Mhm.
Like all your bad habits, all your warts, all the things that you don't want other people to know about, all of your past mistakes that you're ashamed of. You have to forgive yourself and accept yourself and love yourself,
Mhm.
all of it.
Yep.
And that's a practice. That's something every single one of us can do. And the way that it happened for me was gradually over time,
Yeah.
and stuff still triggers, stuff still comes up, and really it takes the form of kind of an intense emotion
Mhm.
comes up, and the emotion could be anything. It could be positive, it could be negative. And when there's an intense emotion, it becomes a bit overwhelming,
Mhm.
you know? And so for me, and I think a lot of people have difficulty dealing with their emotions. And our emotions are what really drive us to do what we do in our lives. The reason why we don't do all the things that in our heart that we want to do, everyone has something in there. We all have this thing in our heart. Would you agree?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
And we need to give ourselves permission
Yep.
to follow your heart and to listen to your heart and abide in your heart, and to make our hearts the authority. The authority is not external. What is in here, what is true and authentic in your heart, that needs to become the authority. And the amazing thing is if we all did that, the whole world would be transformed, because at the root in our hearts, at the depth of our hearts, we're all unselfish. Most people are stuck in their selfish thought patterns.
Yeah.
There's a lot of selfish people. Don't get me wrong. I'm not ignorant of the predominant selfishness that rules the world,
Right.
the ego that's being driven for more, more, more. I'm not ignorant to that.
Right.
But if we can give up our attachment to the external compulsion for more, 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 because it's never enough.
Right.
It's never ending. And so the reason why all the resources of the world are being stripped away, and there's war, and all of the horrific problems of the world are all driven out of fear and selfishness.
Yeah.
And ignorance and ego.
Yep.
So the inner work is to go find that source within you that's beyond fear, that's beyond ego, that's beyond selfishness, that's beyond ignorance. And that is shining. It's a shining jewel in everyone's heart. And it's there. And the problem is that we don't recognize it. We don't know how to find it. And I'm really pleased that meditation has become as popular as it is.
Yeah.
The people that I've coached so far, either they meditate or they want to meditate, or they know they should be meditating. And it's really hard. Like, it's really hard. Like, when I established my practice of meditation, I mean, I was first introduced to it as a child. I had profound experiences as a child, just through meditation and chanting. And that's what drew me towards seeking to find out more, because what I experienced as a child was so out of the norm. And yet it just seemed natural. Like, I had visions, and I saw blue electricity coming out of the wall socket, just before I fell asleep. And so these experiences are kind of what, so the word for that is kind of an awakening. There was a spiritual awakening. And in the Indian tradition, there's a word called Kundalini, which I don't know if you've ever heard of that word or not.
Yeah.
Okay. So you can see it in the caduceus, the medical, where they have the serpent going around 3 times, the staff. Yeah. So that is Kundalini, actually.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and that's where the true healing comes from, because it's the awakening of your inner power and energy, and it has its own innate intelligence, and so it knows how to go and heal you from within. So this is all stuff that I've learned over the past 40 years or whatever.
Yeah. Oh, really cool. Thank you for sharing all that.
Thanks, Joseph. Yeah, it's great to be here.
A lot. I love it though. It's great.
Cool. I love your backdrop.
Oh, thanks. I actually made that on Canva.
Yeah, it looks really good. So what do? You just blank out your background? Like, you become transparent, and then you can just put any background in you want?
So if you go onto Canva, it gives you like all these different options, or you have like a blank space that you can just do your own thing with.
Right.
So I just went in there and said, how do I want to design this? So I put in a black background, and then I added in all the captions and whatnot.
And so in Zoom, you just make your background blank or whatever, and then you put in your own background?
Oh no, you go to the where it says stop video, the camera.
Okay.
And then it'll say choose virtual background.
Right.
So what I did was I saved it as a photo.
Okay.
And then I just, went and to over here to where it says stop video, choose my background. And once there's a section you can click to access your photos to upload the background.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually painted my wall blue.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got wooden paneling behind me, but I don't like the looks. Okay.
Yeah. No, I like the design. I'm actually a designer. So
nice.
Prior to me embracing my kind of my lifelong passion to, share what I've received through life coaching or through written material, or however I can connect with people.
Right.
I began doing commercial graphic design, graphic art with my dad. He's just an amazing talent. He's from the old school advertising agency industry, and
Okay.
in my early 20s, I became his, and so it would be 94. I became his hands on the computer, because in everything used to be drawn out by hand, like all the layouts. And so he wasn't able to kind of make the jump from the old way to learning the computer back in the mid 90s.
Yeah.
It was something that I did. So I worked with him for about 8 years. And I learned the business and learned design and learned production, and website work started coming then, and so a lot has changed. So that was basically 26 years ago.
Okay.
So I still have some client work where I do graphic communications and marketing. So that's another thing that I can offer clients is with branding and marketing and doing layouts, all kind of email marketing, landing pages, and all that kind of stuff.
Nice.
But my focus is really to do this life coaching work and helping people get in alignment with their hearts, really. What's here. And there's so much noise in the world. There's so much external noise that is constantly drawing our attention. All these fires, we got all these fires that we got to constantly put out just to kind of stay afloat in this world, and all these pressures and stresses. And so it's so easy to lose connection with what is most important in our lives. And so that's kind of the coaching work that I'm passionate about, is really supporting my clients to look within themselves and to get in alignment with their true purpose, I call it their ultimate purpose. And then, act accordingly, make some progress towards implementing and forming your lifestyle, your routine, based on what your goals are at a real deep level.
So for those of you that are wondering, you might see neurotransformational life coach or wonder what Taylor's talking about. If you're new here, we're basically deep dive coaches. We do the deep inner work.
Right.
So we help you realize what your purpose is, everything Tyler's talking about.
Yeah.
And that could be centered around PTSD, depression, goals in your relationship or in your profession, whatever it is.
Yeah.
But it's a deeper level. It's not just the generic, I don't know why I say generic because that sounds bad, but it's more than just, okay, let's do the first logical step and then go from there. It's more than that. That's included, but there's a lot more than that, where you connect on a spiritual level, on a personal level.
I think that a lot of advertising, coaching has kind of become very popular.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, there's some coaches who have been doing this for decades.
Yeah.
But a lot of what drives the whole industry is results. It's results coaching.
Yep.
And really the formula for results that is being sold in the marketplace is, if you do this, you'll get that.
Right.
Okay. So it's at a very surface level.
Yeah.
It's all you need to do is follow these 3 steps, and then you'll get that pie in the sky.
Right.
And that's a sellable formula. It sounds real simple. Wow, you've got a 3-step formula, and then I can, all my dreams will come true. This is terrific. How much is it? Oh, $2,000.
Yeah.
That's it. So what you're talking about here, what we're talking about here, is the thoughts that determine your actions, and your actions determine the results or the effect.
Right.
And why do we think the way we do? How come, and so when you meditate, all of a sudden, you basically, the first step is to still the body. So we're not doing anything. Meditation is more of an undoing.
Yeah.
The first thing you do is you still the body. The next thing you do is you turn your senses inward. So you stop looking outside. You stop listening to all the distracting sounds. You turn your phone off. You sit still, you get comfortable.
Yep.
You shut your eyes, you stop looking outward. The body just relaxes and you just get connected with your breath, become aware of your breath. And people think it's a common knowledge that meditation, the purpose is to still the mind. So when you still the body and you turn the senses inward, then you're faced with your mind.
Mhm.
And if you, I don't know, have you ever practiced meditation?
Yeah.
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 So when you meditate, do you all of a sudden become aware of the busyness of your mind?
Oh, so much so, so much so. But it used to be this very overwhelming thing, and then it became this shift where it was just so calming because I learned to just like shut up and listen and accept.
Right.
And it was just such an amazing, I still get goosebumps when I talk about it because
Awesome.
it's just this thing of like, you know,
Yeah.
you just, everything just changes. Your whole body feels lighter, even though it's the same weight.
Right.
It's just I mean, transformational experience is the only way I know how to label it,
Yeah.
because I can't think of any other different way. But the more you do that, the more things change around you. Things
Right.
to upset you don't upset you anymore.
Right.
Things used to stress you out. You're like, yeah, whatever. It's just a whole different mindset.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah. That's beautiful. It's a beautiful way to put it. And you know, the mind is so active, and you could say the mind has a mind of its own,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah,
And I think most people think that they're the ones in charge of their thoughts, that they're the ones doing the thinking. And if they sit for meditation with the objective to just still the mind or observe the mind, they'll see that who they are and what their mind is doing are two different things.
yeah,
The mind is its own contraption with its own purpose, and that's just to think,
right.
you know. And um, and then on a deeper level, you start to see how you feel,
Mhm.
and feelings aren't necessarily thoughts,
Right.
but there's this interrelation. And I remember early in my 20s, I remember sitting for meditation, and I all of a sudden realized how happy and free I was.
Mhm.
Just, I had this hit of elation, if you will.
Yeah.
And literally, Joseph, literally within 5 seconds, 6 seconds, maybe 7 seconds at the very most, all of a sudden, I was totally depressed. Now I'm just sitting here, nothing's changed.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I was so fascinated. I stopped. I went, wait a minute. How did that even happen? How could 7 seconds ago, me feeling totally happy and free and elated, to being totally like sad and depressed or whatever, right? And like basically going from a positive state to totally a negative state. And I literally had to backtrack. I had to say, well, what was the last thought I had before I felt this depression? And I went back, because there was only a 7 second span. And I thought, how the heck did I go from feeling elated to having this thought within 7 seconds? Like, what, this thought had nothing to do with 7 seconds ago. I'm like, what, how did I get to that thought? And then I backtracked. I said, well, what was the thought that preceded that thought? I went, wow, that thought, oh, I guess that kind of makes sense. But it was completely unrelated. But there was this weird thing, that thought led to this thought. And I thought, well, how did I get that thought? And then I traced back. And I went, oh my gosh, that thought led to that thought, led to that thought, led to me feeling depressed. And then I had to say, well, how did I get to that thought? And I proceeded, and I was like, well, I noticed that I was happy and free and elated. And that led to that thought. Wow. So the purpose of this is to point out how subtle and interconnected, interwoven our thoughts and our emotions are. And really, it's our emotions that determine our state, but our thoughts are important because they are what feed your emotional state. So if you're caught up with negative stuff all the time in your head, all the things that are wrong, all the things that you don't have, all the things that you wish were otherwise, well, how do you think and most people aren't in touch with how they feel. They're unconscious of how they feel. But basically what you're doing with that kind of thinking is you're making emotional deposits. You're depositing emotional energy that's negative into your system. And that you're storing that. That becomes, this is where the neurotransformational stuff comes in, because your system is now storing this negative energy. In order to release yourself from that negative energy, you have to process it. Otherwise, you're carrying it. You have to become conscious of it. So the best way to release all your negativity is actually to become aware of it. All of the shit that you don't want to deal with, and that you don't want to feel, and that you don't want to know, that you suppress, that you stuff, you sweep it under the carpet, all of that stuff, and it's too overwhelming to do it all at once. You have to just do a little bit at a time, a little bit at a time, a little bit at a time, a little bit at a time. Oh, there's more. It's what I call you're doing the inner work, And again, it's with understanding that it's okay. All of that stuff that you don't want to know, it's okay to be conscious of it. It's okay to forgive yourself for it. It's okay to let that stuff go. You don't have to carry it around with you as a burden throughout the rest of your life and bring it with you to your deathbed. Like a lot of people at their end of their lives, I've studied this. I've heard from people that work with the dying. But basically, they say everybody has all their baggage that they bring with them to their deathbed. And I'm a firm. I don't like to use the word believer, because for me, believing means that you don't know. It's something you have to believe in. You're not sure. You don't have the first-hand experience. That's just a little nuance. It's my own stuff. Never mind. But I'm a firm believer that we need to let go of our baggage while we're on this earth. We need to process all our stuff before it's time to leave, because we want to travel light into the next, whatever that is, whatever the next step is. We don't want to bring all of that stuff with us. Oh, you're on mute. Can you hear me? I think you're on mute.
Sorry about that. Yeah, my cats are starting to make noise, so I muted my mic. So essentially what Tyler is speaking about is being at peace, when it's your time to move into the next life or whatever it is that you believe in. Being at peace with yourself and your surroundings. I actually saw my great grandmother pass, and I was raised in a Christian home, so she was Pentecostal Christian.
Yeah.
And she was 96 when she passed. And the way that she went out, it was our family members around her bed.
Yeah.
She said, the way I want to go out is singing. And so she started singing Amazing Grace, and we all just joined in with her.
Wow.
And it was, if there could ever be a description of a beautiful passing,
Yeah.
that would be it. And it was just I'll just never forget the room or
Yeah.
the feeling, and that it was just amazing,
Wow.
indescribable,
Yeah.
really.
Yeah.
And so she was at peace with everything. And she had some
Yeah.
hard times in life. She had an abusive alcoholic husband,
Right.
and things like that, who passed on early. She lost children before she passed. And so to see this woman just go so graciously and so lovingly, and to pass on love to her family in that moment was just, it just showed so much strength, and love and compassion. I mean, that's her legacy to me.
Yeah.
It's just an amazing experience.
Yeah.
So
I was just saying, it's just such a gift.
yeah,
It's such a beautiful example for all of you, for her whole family that she loves so much that she could show you, you know?
yeah,
So
yeah,
beautiful.
just an amazing, amazing gift. So I still get choked up talking about it, but
Yeah.
but yeah, wow, great stuff, man. Great stuff.
Awesome.
So, as far as the clients you serve, is there a preference, or do you serve anybody?
Um, it's just basically there's no accidents. So if we're meant to be in connection, and
Mhm.
then, and it's just go step by step. If something doesn't feel right or is not in alignment, it's okay. We, everything kind of moves on in life. Everything changes all the time. So it's really, you know,
One constant in life is change.
yeah. The only thing that doesn't change is change.
So the reason I asked him that question is because we have this thing called being in a niche or a niche,
Right.
and within that, people say, "Well, I have an ideal client." My
Yeah.
ideal client are males 20 to 35 that have drinking problems or whatever it is.
Right.
So that's why I asked. And there's some coaches who don't, go by that. So I always like to know who is that and who isn't that. And there's no wrong answer there. It's just,
No, I would say, Joseph, that I use the word spiritual.
mhm,
I would say, like, but the word spirit to me actually is a synonym for essence.
sure.
It means your essence. It means who you really are.
Yeah,
So
100%.
it's not a woo-woo word for me.
No.
It just means, it's just a fact. It's like who you really are.
Yeah.
And so I think that every human being is longing and seeking to know who they really are, because who they really are is incredibly profound and great and awesome.
Yeah.
And so, I think that if that is something that appeals to you, if your viewers are interested in finding out who they are at a deeper level, and allowing that truer, deeper sense of self to permeate how you feel about yourself, and to permeate how you think about your life, and to permeate how you want to act in the world, um, then that's kind of how I see work going from the inside out, living from the inside out, starting with here and moving outwards. And I've got a lot of experience in business in the world, so it's balanced. I have a balanced approach. It's not just spiritual and that's all I do. It's goal setting and marketing and branding and
Yeah.
uh, exercise. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah. So it's just, I don't know. Does that answer the question?
Yeah. 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 You're wide open to the people you align with,
Right.
no matter gender or whatever. There's really no preference as long as you're in alignment. And I think that's wonderful. I think more coaches need to be like that.
Right.
So,
Well, that's not what we're taught, though.
Yeah,
We're taught to get super niche and narrow.
right. And the
And
reason that that's taught is because, the godfather of coaching or whatever, Tony Robbins, right?
right,
Started out with one thing and then he built into multiple things from there. So
sure.
I think the teaching around that is so we don't get overwhelmed and then just burn out and crash. So, but I
You
think,
know,
go ahead.
I was just going to say it's interesting because I think part of it too, one of the things like becoming a life coach is, there's so many different areas that, people might need some support in.
Right.
So as a life coach, especially starting out, it can feel overwhelming to potentially, be presented with clients that have all such a diverse range of things that they need help with, support with, that it's overwhelming for the coach. Like, who am I to be able to support in all these areas? Like, I can't do all that. So, well, what can you do? What are you comfortable in?
Yeah.
What is your area that you're most familiar with, that you have experience in?
Yeah.
And that is kind of your niche. And I think that part of the reason why I'm a little bit more open is partly, I just turned 50. So I have some experience now. I mean, it's something that I've wanted to do for almost 30 years, but I'd be a much different coach 30 years ago than I am today, because I have a lot of experience. But the essence, the self, is the common seed, if you will, to everything we do in life. So the work that I do can be translated and utilized in whatever area the external issues that you're having. The methodology that I coach and I teach and I support my clients in practicing, it can be applied for pretty much any area in your entire life. It doesn't really matter. So, I don't have any alcoholics in my family, so I don't have a lot of experience with that. But you know, it's the same issues, whether you're an alcoholic or whether you're addicted to porn or whether you overeat. It's really the same
Framework.
issue underneath the surface. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, there's always an underlying issue, and the way that I help my clients solve it is, it's through the framework, it's through the process, you know, it's finding out what works for them and how I can support them,
Right,
and giving them the ideas and pointing out the blind spots that they aren't thinking or seeing,
right,
which is, very well, and that's essentially it. People will
yeah,
try to mask emotions through drugs or alcohol or
right,
pornography or whatever it is.
yeah,
And then when that's gone, well, that feeling's right back. And well, let me go do it again.
right.
And we talk about addictions, and it's really just bad habits. And if you know how to change a bad habit to a good habit,
Yeah.
we can make that happen very easily, so long as the client's willing to do the work.
That's the key, isn't it? There has to be, and oftentimes it's the client doesn't know what they want necessarily. They have an idea of what they think they want, but
Right.
they're at a point in their life where they know, I can't do this anymore. I know what I don't want, and I'm done with this.
Yep.
How I move on from here, I don't even know. But all I know is and so there's a real readiness and an openness, like a sincere willingness to change and to look at themselves and to take responsibility
Mhm.
for their own life and their own situation, and that's really important. That I'm just touching on that, they're what you said, they're willing to do the work.
Yeah.
And our job, I think, as coaches, and I'm not sure if you agree, but it's to support them in doing their work, in a very non-judgmental and a way. We're not we're probably the first ones to admit that we're not perfect or we're not any better than anybody else,
Right.
you know. And I think that that's an important piece to the puzzle, is that we meet clients where they're at, you know, and we don't, there's none of this like I'm better than you or you're better than me. We're equals.
Right.
And we're just trying to make the most out of this precious opportunity called life, you know.
Yep. So what do we do as coaches, right? We help you get to the outcome that you're having a problem getting to, right? We're your support partner, we're your accountability partner.
Yeah.
Right? We're your cheerleader,
Right.
but we're not some judgmental parent hitting you over the head with the book, say, do it this way, this is what works. We don't do that. So it's a very compassionate setting.
Yeah.
It's meant to motivate you, to get you determined to hit your goals in whatever way that you can.
Right.
Yeah. So Tyler, I got to finish up the interview here. I've
Sure.
hit my my time limit for the day.
Yeah,
So
no
how
problem.
can people get in touch with you if they want to, you know, get coaching or?
Yeah. Yeah. My name is Tyler Nouns, and I have a domain that's tylercoach.com. So TYLERCOACH.com. And all of my contact information is on the website.
Perfect. So there you go, guys. If you want to hit up Tyler, you know.
Yeah, and there's also like a free introductory calls that you can schedule with me, or you can email me, and we can set up a time and just to talk and just to get a sense for each other, and whether or not we might be a good fit to work together. So
yeah, perfect. Thank you, Tyler. So yeah, if you guys want to get in touch with Tyler, now you know how. If you want to get in touch with me, you can email me at jpeoplescoaching@gmail.com, or you can go to any of my social media sites. I'm on just about all of them, but mainly Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, and I'm forgetting one, Instagram. Not so much Twitter, but the other ones, yeah. So anyway, Tyler, thank you so much. That was really a wonderful, wonderful in-depth interview. Thank you for your time. And you know, I just hope to see you do great things. I know you will. And I want to read that book. Let us
thank
know.
you so much, Joseph. All the best to you.
All right, my pleasure. And thank you if you watch this video. If you like
Yes.
it, please let me know, subscribe, share, all that good stuff. You guys know what to do. And I will see you guys later. Thank you again, Tyler.